everybody, and welcome to episode 80. That's 80 of Halfway Through the Heat. It's the world's most prestigious, longest running, and dare I say most popular, trans-Pacific wrestling podcast, coming to you from the Eastern Time Zone in the United States. I'm Tom. With me, as always, from Tokyo, Greater Tokyo, Japan, is Joe. Joe, how are you?
I am all right.
All right. We've got a short but sweet installment this week. It's our pre-Fastlane extravaganza. So we're going to talk about what to expect from Fastlane. That's the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. We've got some other news. We've got some big departures from Impact Wrestling that used to be known as TNA. We've got a pretty strong rumor about who the next Raw GM is going to be. And we have the latest on the WWE Hall of Fame. Plus, we've got a few personal notes, some wrestling coming up this weekend we'll be talking about. Before we do any of that, we're going to start off, as we always do, and we're going to be a ray of sunshine in a dark landscape. We're going to say something positive about Raw. Joe, is there anything that stood out to you as positive from Raw?
I liked that they finally made Seth Rollins an actual face instead of like him being an in-betweener or whatever he was.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I like the way they did it too. I thought the crowd was terrible, but his promo in the ring there with Corey Graves, I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It was a good establishment of like his disillusionment with having been a sellout scumbag and wanting to redeem himself, and that's what I've been waiting for with that character. Like when he came back from his first injury, that's what I'd wanted, and they sort of dilly-dallied and didn't really do much definitive with his character before. So now it seems like it's on the right track, and that's good news as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean, finally, they really should have done that when he initially came back, but whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Better late than never. I liked I guess the positive thing for me was the showdown between Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe. I thought that went some distance toward establishing Sami Zayn as like a credible threat to Joe instead of just the guy who gets beat up all the time. That he's sort of he's kind of a wild man, and he's willing to take big risks. I like that feud they have there. I like how they've handled Joe's character. But to me, this added another dimension to Sami Zayn as sort of the underdog who's not just a guy who valiantly loses matches, but is also actually capable of putting a hurting on the bad guys.
Yeah, that's I think they're actually doing a pretty good job with Sami Zayn.
I know. I mean, it's kind of surprising, and I hate to say that, but it really is sort of surprising that they haven't really bungled his character, and they've been giving him like time to develop, which is maybe the biggest surprise, that they haven't rushed anything.
Yeah, you'd expect that like they would already be pushing him as Daniel Bryan now, but actually they haven't. They've gone for the slow burn.
I know, and I'm fine with that. It's just, I hope they stick with it, and ultimately I think it's going to come down to having him find that one like great opponent who really establishes Sami Zayn as an up and coming babyface. Yeah, it might be Samoa Joe. I don't know. But yeah, so far so good with Sami Zayn. The rest of Raw, not a whole lot to get excited about.
That's true.
A lot of talking. Mick Foley yelling at Braun Strowman. I also I hate to say this because I liked them for so long, but one thing that Raw confirmed for me this week was I am well and truly done with the New Day.
Oh yeah, it's been a bit it's been a bit rough lately with the New Day, and they've been kind of getting old.
Yeah, ever since they lost their tag titles, they've been kind of treading water. They haven't really there's nothing for them to do, and this whole idea that they're going to host WrestleMania, God knows what that even means. But it's not the same thing as having a championship match on WrestleMania, that's for sure. Um, I just want to see them, kind of admit the inevitable and break the New Day up and uh, put Big E in the singles push that we all know he's capable of doing so well. Like they've been together for a good amount of time, especially as a contemporary tag team. Like, in an era when tag team wrestling has been de-emphasized and tag teams kind of come and go, they have been together for a long time now, and they had a great run, got very popular, but like their shtick has run its course.
It's true. I don't know what they can do with them, but like they should do something.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that the best thing to do is to break them up and have Big E on a singles run, because I'd love to see him as a singles guy. I think he had kind of had before the New Day, he had kind of a stop-start singles push, and I'd like to see him really get a chance to show us what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good to see, something from them, something different.
Yeah, and I mean, Xavier Woods should be a full-time manager or commentary or something. He's not the best wrestler in the world, but they can find something for him to do. He's a good talker. But it's time. It's time for the New Day to split up.
Probably
that's just
true.
My opinion. But no sign of that. I mean, there's no like hints of trouble with the New Day or anything. Like there's no indication that we're going to get a New Day split up. Speaking of splitting, though, we had some big news about departures from Impact Wrestling, formerly known as TNA. And these are actually are pretty big departures. Drew Galloway has left. Apparently, that was amicable, and he just wants to pursue other things. The door was left open for him to return. He's been doing a lot in Evolve. Maybe he has his sights set on a return to the WWE. Bigger news, though. The Hardys are done, and there's no non-compete clause in the contract that has expired, so they could show up somewhere else as early as next week. That was not an amicable departure. The Hardys complained that they were treated unfairly during contract negotiations. Anthem, the company that owns Impact Wrestling, has said that it's policy not to comment on contractual matters. However, as reported by Ryan Satin in Pro Wrestling Sheet, the company is making a claim that the broken Matt Hardy character and the brother Nero, the whole final deletion stuff, is intellectual property that it owns, and that if the Hardys go somewhere else, they can't do those characters.
Oh.
The Hardys claim that they're not owned by Impact Wrestling, but by them. And that's the kind of thing that could end up in court. It's also the kind of thing that could make the WWE, for example, that's what everyone is speculating, that the Hardys would come back to WWE. That's the kind of thing that could make the WWE back off a little bit. WWE does not want to take on anything that might smack of litigation. And the Hardys got real hot because of those characters in that storyline. So, I don't know, I guess it's a question as to what do they do if they go somewhere else and they can't be Broken Matt and Brother Nero?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't really matter. I guess they just don't have to call themselves that, and they can just do whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like it's I guess it would depend on the extent of Impact's claim to. But I mean, I can't imagine Impact's lawyers arguing in court that Matt Hardy acting like a weirdo and talking in a fake bad British accent is intellectual property. They could say like the delete thing and the brother and broken Matt Hardy, that's intellectual property, but like just Matt Hardy acting weird in a slightly different way, I don't think a court is going to enjoin him from doing that.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do, right?
He could call himself repaired Matt Hardy or like the reborn Matt Hardy or something, and just be like a weirdo in a slightly different way, and That might actually be a refresh for those characters because I kind of thought the whole thing was getting a little stale, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, whatever whatever you got, I mean, I'm sure it'll be more exciting when it's not in TNA. So, you know, even if they made Matt Hardy a competing cult leader against Bray Wyatt, it would be fine.
Yeah, the Hardys have been teasing a run in Ring of Honor against the Young Bucks, and that would be okay. And honestly, Ring of Honor badly needs some star power and something a little different. As we've talked about, there's not a whole lot in Ring of Honor right now that's exciting, and the weirdo Hardys showing up and feuding with the Bucks could be just the thing they need to sort of get a little juice.
That's true. Anything, yeah, anything for them would be good, I think.
But so this sort of makes me interested in the whole issue of what's going on at TNA. Jeff Jarrett, who's now the head of creative once again at Impact Wrestling, tweeted out, he's like, "Oh, I know we're not supposed to comment, but I just want to wish the Hardys the best, and they're going to do fine wherever they go." So it was a classy thing, but didn't really tell us what was going on. Rebby Hardy, Matt Hardy's wife, tweeted out the following: "I've said it many times. TNA was the perfect situation for our family, and how grateful I was for professionalism, open communication, respect. Now think about what kind of negative changes and straight fuckery would have to go down for us to leave." So that's sort of me reading between the lines. That to me is saying, we stuck it out during the Dixie era when everyone else was miserable. So imagine how miserable things are now that we're leaving. And who knows what that means, but I wonder if this is a sign of that Jeff Jarrett came in and decided he didn't want to keep on going with that stuff.
Yep, could be. Yeah, I don't know, but like the thing with it all is that they said that they were disrespected in the negotiation process. Did you see that? Where they said like
Yep.
they were they were saying, they had like they were in the contract negotiations and they had like a contract already set up, and then like they didn't get the contracts and they kept contacting them to say like, oh yeah, we want our contracts, but then they kept getting the runaround, and then like eventually they were saying like, well, we have offers to go other places, and since they didn't get their contract, they tried to add in a creative control clause, and they basically their response was like, tell them to go to WWE then. and Jeff Hardy was basically, well, fuck you guys, I'm out from that. They basically they said, tell them to go to WWE, and Jeff Hardy said, fuck off then, I'm going. And Matt apparently continued to for 2 weeks to have well, he continued, let's see, for a little bit to have contract renewal talks, but they changed the contract to be a 2-year deal instead of a 1-year deal, and also they added in a rider that said that 10% of all profits outside of Impact would go to Impact. And they, obviously, even Matt's lawyer said he'd be an idiot to sign that, so they said, suck it, we're out of here.
And that honestly is the kind of clause that people put in when they want someone not to sign the contract.
Basically, yeah.
Like, that's like their way of saying, we don't want you anymore, and we're going to put in something that's so awful that you have to walk away from it.
That's basically what happened. So the Hardys are now free agents. How long, we don't know, but they could be showing up in the old WWE sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I think the intellectual property stuff would have to get resolved first. I don't think the WWE wants to take any of that on, but I do think there's still enough buzz around the total nonstop deletion, broken Matt Hardy, Brother Nero stuff that WWE is interested. Also, there'd be a big exciting, people would love it if the Hardys came back. WWE, they've kept Goldberg long after, his initial, they were going to bring him back for one appearance, and he's, as we'll discuss, is probably going to be the champion this weekend. Nostalgia is a big thing for WWE, so I could see them definitely wanting to bring the Hardys back. Whether that happens soon, or after WrestleMania or summertime or something, I do think we'll probably see it before the end of 2017. In the meantime, though, I really think the Hardys are going to show up in a bunch of indies. They don't. There's not a non-compete. They can go wherever they want. WrestleCon is coming up with all those indies having like super shows in Orlando, and my guess is that the Hardys will be all over that stuff.
Yeah, that would be. I'm sure they'll be all over those things, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm not worried about the Hardys. I think they'll easily get enough work to be fine.
Yeah, and those guys are a draw. I mean, like they when they do indie shows, like it's like the more along the lines of 2,500, 3,000 tickets sold indie shows at like minor league baseball parks and stuff. So people want to see those guys. WWE knows that. I'm sure we'll get plenty of chances to see the Hardys again. But I wonder what this means for TNA. It's almost like TNA is kind of building a sort of a super indie brand, and they're getting rid of some of the legacy talent, like the Hardys, who maybe aren't part of that. Like Reborn, we've been calling them TNA, but really they've kind of officially rebranded as Impact Wrestling, or all but officially rebranded as Impact Wrestling, because they want to distance from their
there was that
past.
there was that rumor that they were gonna they might rebrand as Global Force Wrestling.
Yeah, can you imagine that? That's a name that Jeff Jarrett keeps using. That would distance them pretty substantially from TNA. But I don't know. Global Force Wrestling. We'll see. So those are some Impact Wrestling departures. Big in the wrestling world right now. Another Impact Wrestling departure. This was a while ago. Kurt Angle. He's going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame at WrestleMania weekend. And now PW Insider reports, and that's PW Insider generally knows its stuff, reports that Angle is coming back full-time to WWE TV, and as Joe predicted, he is coming back as the Raw general manager.
Yep. That's possible. I mean, I could see him back as a Raw general manager, and I could see I could see him being more desirable as the manager, the Raw general manager also, because like it puts him on TV and he's a well-known person that people like and want to see. But also, unlike Mick Foley, he can actually have a match every once in a while.
Yes.
So they can work him into stories more, where they can have him actually like, defend himself instead of like just cower in a corner or whatever.
Yeah. Also, if you want to make him, if you want to make your general manager a shitty bad guy, Angle is a much better at being a heel than Mick Foley.
Yeah, that's also true.
And Mick Foley is going away to have surgery done. I'm sure they'll have some other role for him, but yeah, this makes a lot of sense. People want to see Angle, but he absolutely cannot wrestle a full schedule. But WWE is they can find roles for just about anyone. So this would not be a huge surprise to have him come back as the Raw general manager, and I think it could make things interesting. Mick Foley is not that great a general manager.
That's true. He has no power, in the sense that
right.
like he is he's kind of like wishy-washy about everything. He just wants people to like him.
Yeah, and like Stephanie McMahon is constantly overriding his decisions or whatever. Whereas the dynamic on SmackDown, I think, worked a lot better. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon are always on the same page. So it's kind of like a one, they get along well and they're both the good guys. That's actually worked surprisingly well. And I think having like the bad owner and the good general manager is just, it's too confusing. So if you get someone like Angle, who's great at being like a suck up and like a jerk and a dickhead, along like doing Stephanie's bidding, I think that could make for a more entertaining show. If SmackDown is the show where life is hard for the heels, Raw could be the show where life is hard for the baby faces.
That could be true. That's basically been the setup for Raw forever anyway, so it's kind of,
yeah,
makes sense to go back to that.
Yeah, it's a formula we've certainly seen before, and it might be getting tiresome, but the reason it's been around for a long time is that it works, and if you swap in some people who are good at it, you can really at least get people more interested in the product. Raw has not been the most exciting show. SmackDown, I think, has been more entertaining overall, more consistent. Raw's had some real high points, but it's also had a lot of real lows, whereas SmackDown, I think, is much more just kind of stable, consistently good. And, it would be nice for Raw to bring in someone who could maybe shake things up a little bit. And who wouldn't do all those like Mick Foley, I'm angry, so I'm going to yell promos. Like yesterday, or on Raw this week with Braun Strowman. Constantly. I feel like every Raw, Mick is always yelling that no one takes him seriously. I will not be ignored, that kind of thing, every week. So, speaking of WWE, we also learned this week, Hall of Fame inductee, drum roll, Beth Phoenix.
Beth Phoenix. Who is Beth? I don't even know who Beth Phoenix is. I'm sorry. She must be
Beth Phoenix.
A very popular wrestler, but she must have been also wrestling in the dark period when I never watched wrestling.
She was the Glamazon Beth Phoenix mid 2000s. Not bad by any means, but so when Beth Phoenix's name was announced, a lot of people on Twitter were like, "What?" And even apparently Beth Phoenix said that she didn't expect it and wasn't sure she deserved it. But you got to think about, so the WWE, ever since the network era, their Hall of Fame classes have had a lot of things in common, right? They've had an 80s superstar, they've had an Attitude Era superstar, they've had a woman, and they've had someone who became famous outside the United States, right? And then there's others too. They always have a celebrity or whatever. But that's been their formula because they're trying to reach different audiences. They want the people who are in their 20s and 30s now who remember the Attitude Era. They want people who are in their 30s and 40s who fondly remember the 80s. They want to bring in international people. That's why Tatsumi Fujinami is in the WWE Hall of Fame, despite like wrestling like twice in Madison Square Garden in the 70s. That's why Stan Hansen is in the WWE Hall of Fame, because although he's from Texas, he was a huge star in Japan and not in the WWE or WWE.
I think you're forgetting that he was also in No Holds Barred. So
I stand corrected. He was in No Holds Barred, and also Carlos Colon. So you look at this year's class, and they've got the Rock and Roll Express from the 80s. They've got Kurt Angle and Diamond Dallas Page from the Monday Night Wars Attitude Era, and now they've got Beth Phoenix and Teddy Long, who is, Vince always just throws in like a one of his friends or something. But like, my guess is that they will have another foreign person, or person who became famous from outside the U.S., and my guess will be someone from England, because they're really pushing that right now. Regal would actually make sense. I'd be happy to see Regal in the Hall of Fame. But all this is to say, they have to keep finding women to put in the Hall of Fame, right? And as we saw last year when they inducted Jacqueline, like, the well is not that deep.
I'm shocked that they haven't gone back to all those like women from the 70s and 80s. Like, I guess, are they all already in?
A lot of them are. I mean, Sensational Sherry is in.
Is Leilani Kai in?
I don't know. Wendy Richter is in.
Wendy Richter should be in, though.
there's not a lot, at least in U.S. women's wrestling,
Where are the
right?
Jumping Bomb Angels? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, see that there you go. Because if you're talking about, I mean, really the era between the early 1950s when Mildred Burke was robbed of the NWA Women's Championship and like the mid 2000s, um, there's not a lot of great women wrestlers in the U.S. I mean, because Moolah, we've talked about this, but like Moolah controlled things, and Moolah sucked out loud. Moolah was terrible, and so women's wrestling suffered tremendously in the United States. And there's a few people who like, I would argue Vivian Vachon, but there's not a lot of like big stars from the U.S. And they've inducted most of the ones who were like Trish Stratus and Lita. Now, the other complication for them is that this whole push to induct women is part of their like women's revolution thing,
Yeah.
and 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 they really have come a long way in how they portray women and what roles women have on WWE TV. They deserve credit for that. But part and parcel of that is like they can't, like Sable is not in the Hall of Fame, and Tori Wilson is not in the Hall of Fame, and Stacy Keibler is not in the Hall of Fame, and and like those were all like really popular TV. I hesitate to say wrestlers, divas. They were super popular, but because of where the WWE is sort of repositioning itself now, it would be really difficult for them to go back and be like, yeah, we're Sable is going to be in the Hall of Fame, or Stacy Keibler or Tori Wilson. Another part of this too is like it has to be people who are willing to agree to show up to the ceremony and everything. But I sympathize with them when they're picking people like Beth Phoenix and Jacqueline, because they just don't have a lot of choices when it comes to women, unless they're going to go outside the U.S., which I'd be fine with. I think they should, but so like, expect this to continue as long as that's their formula. As long as the formula is we need a woman, we need an 80s person, a 90s person, and we need somebody from outside the U.S. Like those are all deeper wells to draw from than women. It's like, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. It's just true. There are a lot more good women's wrestlers in the U.S. right now than there have ever been in the U.S.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really strange that but like there's a bunch of people who are actually in the WWE that they should have in that are women that are much like well known than like basically like all of the women who were wrestling in the early 80s are more well known. I mean, obviously like Moolah is already in there for some reason.
Moolah is in there. Wendy Richter's in there. Sensational Sherry's in there.
But like, I mean, you had let's see,
Velvet McIntyre.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Velvet McIntyre was in there, right? But you've got who Leilani Kai was in there, right?
Leilani Kai.
Who else? Who else was wrestling then? I guess Velvet McIntyre, Princess Victoria. How about that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like it's not.
Well, like Judy Martin.
Judy Martin.
Well, like,
I mean,
but if you put it like, for example, like the Glamour Girls were the champions forever, right? I mean, they were actual champions in WWE or WWF at the time. I'm sure they don't look glamorous now, but like they didn't then either, so it's perfect.
yeah, and I mean, but part of it too is like when George the Animal Steel died, there was like this outpouring of grief from people who weren't big wrestling fans who just remembered him from when they were kids. And honestly, like the women just didn't get much time or attention even back then. Like I think, God forbid Leilani Kai should die. I mean, Leilani Kai, she's in great health from what I know, but like if she get hit by a meteorite or something, there's not going to be the same kind of like mainstream sort of like, oh man, I can't believe Leilani Kai died, because they just didn't. Women weren't given the opportunities that men were given back in the 80s, with the exception of like Wendy Richter, and that was real briefly.
Well, like that's true, but do you think like there would be any of that for someone like Jacqueline or Beth Phoenix.
No, no, and I think part of that is just they're sort of like maybe it's who they have relationships with, or I don't know, but they I mean they have to pick someone,
Put,
and
what about Rockin' Robin?
right, Rockin' Robin, right, the original Dawn Marie before the ECW Dawn
Yeah,
Marie.
but like, you'd figure they'd at least put in people who were champions before in WWE, right? I mean, well, I mean, like, why would you not put in Bull Nakano?
Well, that is one that I honestly think they really, really should, and they're kind of missing the boat. And I mean, I don't know, maybe they have thought
But
about it,
like,
but
if they're gonna include people like that, like you've got all the people that were in WCW who were like wrestling, the women's wrestling in WCW, where you have like Akira Hokuto who would be perfect. She wrestled a match. She broke her neck in a match and finished the match.
that's insane.
Um,
My guess is that knowing what I've knowing Vince, I don't know him personally, but having watched his programming and read a lot about Vince, my guess is there's going to be one woman from, if there's ever going to be a woman from Japan in the Hall of Fame, there's going to be one. I can't see Vince picking more than one.
oh, but I mean,
It's going to be Asuka
oh yeah, well, okay, but like.
in like 10 years. The Hall of Fame classes in 10 years will be a lot better.
Asuka would be an actual choice because now they've started to push her streak as real against Goldberg.
Yes. I don't think we talked about that, but
We talked about it we
mentioned
mentioned it last week, but we didn't mention the WWE hadn't said anything about it yet, and we were saying they really should push that, and now like suddenly they are.
yes. I'm glad they listened to this podcast. Also, I've noticed people online, and I wrote about this a bit on the blog, but people online are saying that Goldberg's streak was 155 because there are like super train spotters who have like crunched the house show data, and because you remember like the streak would change from week to week. I mean, it was always like this was one of the sloppy things that WCW did. Nobody was like kept track of it, which is insane, but it's very WCW. But so the kayfabe number they settled on was 173, and people are saying like, oh, all Asuka needs to do, and she's at like 148 or something now, and people are saying like all she has to do is 8 more matches, and she'll beat Goldberg's streak. The number is 173. Like regardless of how many matches he won in a row, like this is wrestling. The whole thing is a storyline.
Yeah.
And the storyline is 173, so that's the number. I mean, that's just the way it is. No one is going to... If she gets to 156, no one is going to recognize that as breaking Goldberg's streak on television or in WWE or anything. Like, that's the way of the world.
We've got some breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis have left TNA.
Whoa! Are you serious?
Yep.
Whoa! Wow, this is the official TNA departure episode of Halfway Through the Heat.
Yeah, they've decided not to re-sign their contracts.
Wow, and I had just read stuff last week talking about how they were getting ready to re-sign.
And they will not be appearing on the taping set in just 2 days. So their short run in TNA was literally 1 year. So yeah, Maria Kanellis, who was the top heel for the Knockouts division, and the Miracle Mike Bennett, now gone from TNA. Adding to the list of the Hardys and Drew Galloway, we've got Maria and Mike Bennett.
Wow. Finally something breaks on our cycle.
But also, Matt Morgan has said he will be returning to TV soon, so probably Matt Morgan going back to TNA.
Oof.
That's not a good trade-off, but whatever.
No, losing Drew Galloway, the Hardys, and Mike and Maria. Hey, we got Matt Morgan though.
Well, he is like someone who has worked with Jeff Jarrett in the past, so it seems likely that Jeff Jarrett can pull his Matt Morgan card out so soon.
Well, that's this at this point. There's got to be some kind of like semi-deliberate plan behind this for TNA. If they, if they've lost 5 of their biggest names in the past, and I guess Revy, and presumably Senor Benjamin. That's interesting. I'm looking at Twitter, and Mike Bennett and Maria have not said anything.
Yeah, well, listed now.
Yeah, PW Insider reporting it. Wow. Very interesting. Voices of Wrestling says the cost cutting continues. Can't really blame TNA. Tear it all down. Mike and Maria did have big contracts, and as did the Hardys. It's possible that Impact Wrestling is retooling as essentially a super indie, and they're just going to be paying people per appearance as opposed to an annual contract, because you're going to save a lot of money that way.
Yeah, also because their taping schedule is really compacted also, so
it really is.
So that makes sense.
So they could become kind of like a fancier Evolve in terms of how they book talent, which is a far cry from what they had once imagined. But you gotta respond to the economic realities and not what you'd like things to be. Wow. Okay. So big news. So that's all the news we had this week on a relatively short, dare I say, a show in the Fast Lane.
It's Fast Lane show. So we will talk about Fast Lane, I guess, since maybe we'll get you hyped for it, since Raw was basically in the slow lane.
Yeah, Raw is a go-home show. That wasn't great. Fast Lane this year, sponsored by Tap Out, comes to us from the Bradley Center in Chilwaukee, Wisconsin. The theme is Watch This by Will Rush, and the poster features Oldberg. This is a Raw pay-per-view, and it's the last pay-per-view of any kind, of any brand in the company before WrestleMania, so some of the storylines are getting set. We're getting a lot of storylines. SmackDown is setting storylines too. Here are the matches we are going to be looking for at Fastlane. We'll get our predictions in. We've been pretty good lately. We've had a few. I think we did really well with Elimination Chamber, as I recall.
Yes, we did.
First match. This is on the pre-show. Rich Swann and Akira Tozawa versus Brian Kendrick and Noam Dar with Alicia Fox. My guess is that the heels cheat to win.
Probably. Makes sense.
To set up a further feud between Kendrick and Tozawa.
Yeah, they already sort of did that already with the Brian Kendrick attacking Akira Tozawa.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be another chapter leading to probably some kind of blow-off between Tozawa and Kendrick. I'm fine. I'm sure this will be a good match. All these guys are good. Tozawa has been one of the few cruiserweights who's actually connected with the crowd. So that's good. I have high hopes for him in the WWE. This, I think, is just going to be a fast-paced preliminary match to get people in the mood for some fast lane action.
Hopefully, people will get hyped by their crazy flippiness.
All kinds of flips and stiff kicks. We've got a singles match: Sami Zayn versus Samoa Joe. I think this has been set up very well, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm pretty sure Samoa Joe wins this one.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't have Samoa Joe lose so quickly.
And I think they've set up Sami Zayn's character in a way that it doesn't actually matter all that much if he loses. Like, they've established him as like the guy who, like, the never say die. I'm not going to quit. You can beat the hell out of me, but I'm going to keep coming back, and that's good because it means you don't have to, do all the 50-50 booking and all that garbage. Like, you can actually have him lose to physically superior opponents, and it doesn't like kill his his interest with the crowd.
Yeah, it works out.
We also have Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax. Huh? Excited?
Haven't we seen this before?
Yeah, I don't particularly care for this feud all that much. Sasha Banks is a good wrestler. Nia Jax is very limited in what she can do, and she's been squashing Sasha. It's okay. It's not like terrible, but I guess I think that they're still building Nia Jax for something bigger, so I'm guessing she wins.
Yeah, fine.
And I mean, Sasha's lost a billion matches anyway, so it's not like at the end of the world for her. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass, tag team match for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship. What do you think?
I assume that Gallows and Anderson retain.
That is my assumption as well. This could be wishful thinking on my part, but I'm wondering if they're starting to tease a Big Cass Enzo Amore breakup.
Why is that? What makes you think that they're gonna break up the dynamic duo there?
On Raw, Enzo Amore was talking all kinds of smack and was all excited, and Big Cass kind of like cut him off and said, "Hey, we haven't won any tag team championships. Like, why are we? We don't have anything to brag about." Like, I wonder if they're trying to introduce the idea that of trouble in paradise between those guys.
Oh.
Because I think they have big plans for Big Cass.
That's probably true.
And they don't care about tag team wrestling.
That's also true.
So I could see them wanting to detach Enzo Amore from Cass. Their shtick, or rather Enzo's shtick, is really wearing thin, at least on me. And
crowd likes it, though.
I think the crowd does like it. I think it would take only a little bit of work to make him a loudmouth heel, maybe accompanying, a big dude, or being kind of a quasi-manager, sort of like Xavier Woods in the early days of the New Day when they were heels.
I mean, I could see that. I could see that happening.
That may entirely just be wishful thinking, and we may be stuck with another 6 to 8 months of the Enzo and Cass show. But I think they're not going to win the championship. Although, maybe that whole, like, we've never won anything on Raw could just be a foreshadowing of their big win on Fastlane. I feel like it's just too early. But you never know. I don't have a strong feeling on this one, but if I had to guess, I'd say Gallows and Anderson retain.
I would assume that they're gonna retain.
But it wouldn't shock me if Enzo and Cass win, even if it's just to like lose it back to Gallows and Anderson at WrestleMania or something, or even on a Raw before then. We have Bayley and Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship, and we all know Charlotte is going to win.
Yeah, Charlotte's going to win. That's almost definite. I mean,
I will be shocked if Bayley retains.
Yeah, I'll honestly be surprised if Bayley retains, just because it's not the story they're telling.
They've got the whole thing with Charlotte's undefeated streak of pay-per-views that I think they want to have that broken at WrestleMania if they're going to break it.
Yeah, I assume that Charlotte will win and then Bayley will win at WrestleMania.
Vince sees Bayley as like the breakout babyface, and rather than Sasha Banks. So I think that's what he's saving for. By the way, if you get a chance to watch SmackDown, I'm watching it as we record. There's a truly insane vignette where Randy Orton burns down Bray Wyatt's like shed, and Bray Wyatt loses his mind. It's great. It's pretty entertaining. It's not quite broken Matt Hardy level, but it's what? It's pretty insane.
Why is he burning his shed down?
To get inside his head, because they're gonna be wrestling at WrestleMania.
What? No.
Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, they're facing each other at
Yeah, I knew
Mania.
that was gonna happen, but I thought they were gonna have they were gonna be friends.
Bray Wyatt is now rocking back and forth and sobbing as his crazy shed burns down, with Randy Orton cackling like a madman.
Does this mean that Randy Orton is the heel?
Maybe. I don't
Bray
know.
Wyatt is the face.
Bray Wyatt is a face. I can see that. People like Bray Wyatt. They don't like Randy. Blandy Blorton.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, it's not often you see a good shed burning on WWE TV, so check it out if you get the chance. But there's more Fastlane. There's more Fastlane. Neville versus Jack Gallagher. Jack Gallagher. Forgive me. Boy, they've really been hot-shotting that title, but my hunch is that Neville retains.
I assume that Neville will retain also.
Gallagher, Neville, and Tozawa are the cruiserweights who actually have connections with the crowd.
Yeah.
So Gallagher and Neville I like this feud. I think it's really good. Neville is great as a heel, and I'm excited for this match. Vince is clearly big on Gallagher, and I think it may be too early. I think they like the idea of him chasing Neville and maybe winning at Mania. That makes a little more sense to me. I could be wrong, but I just have a feeling that they're going to, whether it's by cheating or something like that, or having Tony Nese run in and help him, I just have a sense that Neville's going to retain.
Makes sense.
We've got Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman. I think this will be an okay match.
I assume this is going to be a match that is going to end in a double countout or some shit. It's going to be something stupid.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It's weird to me they're wasting this. Like almost all these matches, it's weird to me they're wasting them on Fastlane.
Yeah, but I imagine that they're going to do something to like not hurt Roman Reigns, but also not hurt Braun Strowman. So I guess there's not going to be an actual pin in this match. It's going to be another
right, or the match could be like it could be one of those things where Strowman attacks Roman before the match starts, and like so the match can't go on or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be something like that. If only because why would they waste it on this? You know what I mean? Like they're not going to have Braun Strowman lose on Fastlane.
No, yeah, and they don't want to have Roman Reigns lose either. So yeah, I could see like a double count out or Big Show like runs in and beats up both guys or something.
That could happen since that Shaq match is basically off.
Yes. Yeah. As we've been saying for a while, like it's just not going to happen. And finally, Shaquille O'Neal has commented on it. He's like, "Yeah, it's probably not going to happen."
He says
that didn't stop.
He said it's not his fault though.
Yes, which I believe. I'm willing to believe Shaquille O'Neal.
You
over
you
Vince.
Believe Shaq over Vince?
So they got to figure out something for Big Show to do at WrestleMania because Vince loves the big men. And the final match, Fastlane, Kevin Owens versus Bill Goldberg for the Universal Championship.
Goldberg.
Are you excited for this match?
It's gonna be awful.
I am not looking forward to this.
And I know that Goldberg is gonna win.
There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I will honestly be stunned if somehow Kevin Owens leaves Fastlane with the Universal Championship.
Yeah.
This is the way they set up the WrestleMania encounter with Brock Lesnar to make it more meaningful. So now not only does Lesnar have to get revenge because he lost humiliatingly to Goldberg twice in a row, but now the championship is on the line. And we know they want to have Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho at Mania, which honestly will be a fun match, and I'm looking forward to it. But in order to get there, it seems we have to endure just over a month, or just under a month, as with Bill Goldberg in 2017, old ass Bill Goldberg as a WWE champion.
Sounds like an awesome plan.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I guess this is the direction they've gone in, and
It's definitely a direction, and it's one they've gone in.
I don't want to complain too much because 2 years ago I could not have imagined them having this much confidence in Kevin Owens.
That's true. I mean, at least Kevin Owens is gonna be was the champion for a long time.
Yeah, and like I think they're happy with him and they want to find spots for him. Like they're not pushing him down the card. They're not abandoning him. They're not Dolph Ziggling him. So that's good. And he'll make Goldberg look as good as it's possible to make Goldberg look.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's not acceptable, but better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, here we are. here we are. So that's Fastlane. Looking to be like a C+ show. The cruiserweight matches will be good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not looking like an exciting show, but like at least we'll get more Goldberg, right?
Yeah, at least there's that. At least we won't have to see the New Day. They're not on the card.
They might be.
They might be. Yeah, they might be last minute additions. They might hosted by the New Day. So that's all we have this weekend for wrestling on TV or streaming. I'm actually going to live wrestling for the first time since December. I'm going to 2 shows this weekend, if you can believe that. And there was a possibility.
I can absolutely believe that.
So the 2015-2016, Tom, there are 4 shows that I could go to this weekend. 1 Friday, 1 Saturday, and 2 on Sunday. But I'm only going to 2. I'm going to see Saturday night in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm going to see Women's Wrestling Revolution. That is the sister promotion of Beyond Wrestling. I was not going to go to the show. It looks like it's going to be a good show and everything. I just wasn't planning on going until last night, 2 nights ago. They announced that Sue Young has been a late addition to the card. I'm a big fan of Sue Young. I've wanted to see her for like 2 years, ever since she became her undead, creepy ghost character. And so I'm very excited. I'm going to go to this show. It's a Saturday night in Providence, so I'm going to get home probably at like 2 a.m. And that's okay. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm going to get a mark picture with Sue Young, and I don't care that people think it's corny.
Well, that's fine. Do it. Get a picture with Sue Young. I'll put it on the podcast.
It's gonna be a picture where she's it's not gonna be like a happy one. It's like I'm gonna be terrified and she's gonna be like pretending to choke me or something.
Well, that'd be awesome.
And then some friends who are not wrestling fans had asked me if I wanted to go to see on Sunday afternoon Chikara in a nearby town, and I had known about the show, but I wasn't planning on going to any wrestling shows because I'm trying to save money. Trying to save that money, but when people who are not wrestling, they're Chikara fans. They're not wrestling. Like they literally, that's the only wrestling they will ever watch. But I feel like when people who are not wrestling fans ask me to go to a wrestling show, I should just say yes.
It's true. You should just say yes. You should agree immediately.
And it starts at 2 p.m., so that's kind of perfect, actually, because it's not like I'll be out late on a work night, and we can like get dinner afterwards and make a day of it. I don't even know who's in Chikara at this point.
Family-friendly Chikara wrestlers.
But like, Kimberly's not in Chikara anymore, that's for sure. The Devastation Corporation, they're not in Chikara anymore. I have no idea who's in Chikara. I don't think Eddie Kingston's there anymore. I'm gonna look at their Chikara roster. Who's in Chikara? Who am I gonna be seeing? The other women at the Women's Wrestling Revolution show, I forget, but they're all pretty good, or most of them are good. Some are not good. Where the fuck is the Chikara roster? I apologize.
Chikara roster.
Um,
I wonder who. Does it give you? Does it tell you who they are in Chikara and who they are actually? Because
no, it just gives them their Chikara characters.
ooh.
I'm looking at the page. It claims Tyler Bate is Chikara. I mean, my guess is that Tyler Bate has wrestled for Chikara, but he's currently WWE UK champion. I'm guessing he's no longer in Chikara.
He's gonna show up.
Yeah, that would be something to see Tyler Bate in Enfield, Connecticut, at a Polish wedding hall. Dustin, okay, I'll probably see Dustin. That's Chuck Taylor. Fire Ant, Dasher Hatfield. It's also goofy. It's also fucking goofy.
Well, it's Chikara. I mean,
Officer Bruno Maloney. Kobold. The Dirt Dog Jeremy Leary. All right, I'll definitely see him.
I hope Kobold is like a short orcish character. He's a D&D. He's
kind
a
of
D&D monster.
Gotta be a D&D reference. Yeah, all right. So I know some of these people. This could be. I don't know. I mean, I always have fun at live wrestling. I've never been to a bad live wrestling show.
Never, Tom. Never.
I mean, relatively, I've been to shows that were worse than other ones, but I've always enjoyed myself.
Okay, I guess that's. I mean, because we've probably been to some bad wrestling shows previously.
Oh yeah.
Um.
Oh yeah. That one in Torrington years ago we went to. It was a show where King Kong Bundy was supposed to be there and he didn't show up.
And Jerry the King Lawler was there.
And the Cat, because that was when she got fired and he quit WWE in sympathy. Briefly. And it was Jerry the King Lawler, the Cat, and like a whole bunch of like kind of bad local wrestlers. And that one guy who came out to the Danzig song, so we all liked him just because we could all sing Mother.
Yeah, that guy's like a local guy though, so we always sang along to him. It seemed like he was really popular because everyone would sing along to his theme song. It was actually just like the people we all went to see wrestling with were just Danzig fans.
That's right. That's right. And he wasn't that. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but like. He wasn't great. He was totally a theme song phenomenon.
Definitely.
But yeah, that was a pretty bad show. But it was fun.
It was still fun, but it was just fun because like I believe our pro wrestling friend Jay was there.
Yes, and those guys who were in that metalcore band were all there.
Yes. So that was basically our wrestling crew, the entirety of it.
That guy Squirrel.
Yeah. We have
was given his nickname by Steve Carino. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, when you go with friends, it's always fun. You always have a good time. But anyway, that's a doubleheader. Sunday, it's Chikara in the afternoon, and then at night they're doing a Blitzkrieg Pro show. But I can't. Even though a friend of mine is the kayfabe commissioner, and he was messaging me today, and he's like, "You're gonna be at the show, right?" I can't. That's just too much. 3 wrestling shows in 2 days, even for me.
That's a lot of wrestling.
And I'm trying to save money.
Yeah. So.
And I don't want to miss Fastlane. It's going to be so much action.
So much Goldberg championshipness.
Oh my god. I mean, I want to watch it, but I'm not going to like it.
Oh, so much Goldberg.
So if you if this is not enough wrestling content for you, then you can go on to Tumblr. You can head over to closetofanxiety.tumblr.com or hawkageandjoe.tumblr.com. There's plenty of wrestling content. More every day. Just about. And you can also find us on the Twitter machine. Joe is at xcornmuffinx. I'm at TJ Breen. I am taking a break from Twitter for the Lenten season.
Is that what you're giving up for Lent? Twitter?
Giving up Twitter. And I think it's going to make me more productive, actually.
It's going to make you less angry.
It might make me less angry. It definitely might make me less angry.
How what do you get?
And
How are you gonna get all your hashtag knowledge going? I mean,
that's a good question. And I worry about even 40 days that might make me hopelessly
how
square.
are you gonna get all your how are you gonna get out to all the people who follow you your your strong pro PewDiePie tweets out? I mean, how are you gonna get all that out?
It's a really good question. I didn't even know what that was until the anti-Semitism thing. Like I would see the name, but I'd be like, is it a show? Is it a person? Is it what the hell is it?
PewDiePie, yeah.
I learned.
Most
PewDiePie.
popular YouTube personality.
I guess. I
Um,
guess.
I, I on a side note, I would say that his anti-Semitism in air quotes is not wasn't anti-Semitism, but whatever.
It was a mistake.
I mean, it's like it's like shitty meme culture. It's not even like
Yes.
it's the kind of thing where like it's hardly anti-Semitic to like make a joke where the Nazis are the butt of the joke. I mean, just like
It's true.
mentioning Hitler, mentioning that like people, like have driven you to be a fan of Hitler because they keep calling you a fan of Hitler or whatever, is not exactly an anti-Semitic joke.
No, but he also had the thing where like guys were holding signs that said "Kill the
He
Jews"
didn't
or
make
something.
those though. That was like a company. There's like a online thing where you can get people to say whatever
Yeah,
you
it was
want for
Fiverr.
$5 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like it's the kind of thing where like here are these people these people hold up signs saying yes, Hitler did nothing wrong. Here's a guy dressed as Jesus saying Hitler did nothing wrong or something. Like it's it's not exactly like funny comedy or anything. It's not like something I really care about. Like I'm not a PewDiePie fan, but like that alone is not like you can see that it's a joke.
Yeah, but like once you start, like he had like a deal with like
Yeah.
a real.
Yeah. He had like a
w-
deal with Disney, so
Yeah, once you get into that world, you gotta
you
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 gotta
can't have your
realize.
shitty meme culture jokes. Like the thing with it
No.
is like the people who watch PewDiePie are like 13 years old. It's the kind of thing where like that kind of thing is like you know, um, if you're on like 4chan, you're like you're all about the Hitler jokes.
Yeah, right.
It's not exactly it's nothing to do with like anti-Semitism. It's just like it's a stupid meme culture.
Yeah, I feel like we missed that because that didn't exist when we were that
Because there were
age.
no memes when we were.
We had to we had to go out and be like weird punk rockers because
Yeah,
that was
we
the
had to buy hand printed magazines from people to find records.
That's right. That's right. We had to like go to shows where like there were bikers who were like, high on speed and looking to pick
Yeah,
fights. It was different.
we did have to go to places where the very real possibility of being beat up by a skinhead was there.
Yeah, talk about people who had troublesome views on Hitler. That you I mean that was for real.
There were, yeah,
Um,
just growing up, we knew some people who had some troubling views on Hitler, and they,
and it wasn't like a Kekistani doing it for the lulz kind of thing. It was more like these were people who had really troubling views on Hitler and were willing to fight you.
yeah,
Like,
it was less of a it was less of the native Kekistanis and more of the neo Nazis who might actually attack people.
yeah, I do think it's funny though after the whole that whole thing with what's his name the YouTube guy. I do think it's funny that suddenly there were like all these like 14-year-olds saying they were going to boycott the Wall Street Journal.
Totally boycotting the Wall Street Journal.
um. Anyway, we've come far afield from our purpose, which was
PewDiePie.
Twitter. So I won't be tweeting, but I got a new phone and I have Tumblr on my phone. So I'll basically be if you're desperate for content during WrestleMania and so forth, I'll be putting on the blog as opposed
you'll
to
be phone tumbling, but you will not be battling native Kekistanis anymore. for at least until until at
No,
least Lent is over.
until Easter. That's right. I
When is
uh,
Easter? I don't even know. May?
April 16th. It's late this year.
All right.
So
So you know what that means. It's time for Cadbury cream eggs. And also
yes,
something about Jesus, but whatever. Not important.
both. You can have both,
You can't have
and
both
Shamrock shakes.
Shamrock shakes, but that's a St. Patrick's Day thing, isn't it?
It's
Are
true.
they
There, you can get. Oh.
like I haven't had a Shamrock shake in like 25 years maybe. Are they mint?
They are.
Okay.
They're
It
mint.
sounds good, but like
It is good. It's. I mean, I have one a year, and that's plenty. But it's for me, it's a delightful part of spring. The old Shamrock Shake.
well, you know, were I in the US for St. Patrick's Day, I totally would buy one, but I am not.
I'm actually going to be in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day this year, and I'm guessing I will not be able to get any Shamrock Shakes.
But will you be able to see any wrestling? Because,
I don't think so. I was actually looking at the schedules, and I don't think OTT. That's the only one I know in Ireland. I don't think OTT is doing any shows. While
there's
I'm
always
there.
the chance that you'll just be walking around in some random pub with friends of friends, and you'll just see an advertisement for local wrestling, and you'll be able to go.
That's true, and I'm going to wear wrestling T-shirts, and the Irish are, gregarious and outgoing, so maybe they'll see like a DIY Champa Gargano shirt, and they'll be like, "Hey, that guy likes wrestling."
It has to be you have to get your British wrestling shirts out though. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know who you would have a shirt for, but somebody.
I'm actually going to get. I am going to get a Zack Sabre Junior shirt. I've just been waiting till the moment is right. The moment is right to strike.
Get on it.
All right, so that's how you get in touch with us. And the last thing is buy our book. We wrote a book. It's called Three Moves of Doom. And it's horror stories about professional wrestling. Joe wrote one. I wrote one. Acclaimed horror writer Matthew M. Bartlett wrote one. And you can buy it. We're all good books are sold, but if you buy it and you like it, and you review it on Amazon or Goodreads, but especially Amazon, then you are the member of our gang, and we will kill someone for you. So that's something. If you have somebody in your life that you want to get rid of,
That might be
but you don't
that might
want-
be metaphorical though.
right. By killing them, we might tweet meanly about them. But that's still
But it'll
pretty
have to
bad.
wait until after Lent.
After Lent, we'll tweet meanly, but we could blog about them. Boy, could we blog about them. So just something to think about. If you want someone to get owned, if you want total ownage over someone, just buy our book and review it, and we'll go ahead and own them.
Well,
We'll do it so bad that people tweet that GIF of the urban teens reacting in shock.
oh, that one where everyone yells.
Yeah, that one. yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's how bad we'll own them.
All right.
Something to think about.
So all you need to do is, buy and review our book on Amazon.
I think that's it.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. So enjoy Fastlane, everyone, to the extent that it is possible to enjoy Fastlane, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. See you guys next time.